Okay, welcome back. What I want to continue with now is level 3 NVQ diploma in installing electrotechnical systems. Okay, again, you can read this for yourselves. You don't need me to be reading this to you now. You've seen this on many of the videos already. Okay, I'm continuing with unit 304. Okay, that's 304. Okay, and this is going to be session 13, sizing trunking. Okay, or session 13, sizing of trunking. Okay, and here's what we expect from you. Okay, let me just pan back. You should get everything in. Okay, okay, yes, we can. Good. Now here's your learning outcome. Okay, outcomes I should say. So student will be able to explain how trunking is sized. As simple as that. Okay, nothing more complicated. Size of trunking. Okay, and let's make sure we got this in view. Okay, fully. Okay. Now, size of trunking. The overall criteria for trunking is that it should not be filled to more than 45% of its overall size. So what we're saying there is that we have a space factor of 55% is air. So 55% of your trunking is going to be filled with air. Okay, that is to allow the combination and the grouping of the cables which we have in the trunking to dissipate heat. And if you have heat which has been generated by the current carrying cables, then that heat needs to escape. Now, we can lose the heat in the trunking itself, whether it be plastic or metal, but to make sure that the cables will run at their most efficient, that 55% of air is necessarily a space factor within your trunking. Effectively, this means that trunking should be 55% air. This stops heat buildup around the cables when they are carrying current. Now, don't be afraid to make your trunking bigger if you need to. So if you're going to use 3x3 trunking or 2x2, and it's going to carry so many cables, then think about making it 3x3 so you can allow for future additional circuits to be added in the trunking without it affecting that 55% space factor. So we always used to install larger trunkings, 4x4 mainly, or 4x6 overall. But what you have to remember, once you put these trunking in, they're there for the duration of the company, basically. Okay. Like, you will need to refer to Appendix E of your on-site guide and Table E5 and E6. Now remember again, there have been some changes in regards to the 18th edition, so check that this still applies. Okay, the technical information is relevant, but the pages or locations due to the 18th edition and quite possibly the 19th edition in future development, as we don't know what's happening with regards to Brexit just yet. Okay, so bear with us. So remember to check and double check. Safety, safety, safety. Right, trunking sizing, okay? And I'm just going to take you along the side here so we can see what we're looking at, okay? I'm going to pan out again for you to see this, okay? Just make sure I've got everything in, okay? And I'll just go on a little bit, okay? Just make sure that it is all in view. Okay, now I'll pan back a bit so we can see that it is in view. Okay. And let's get you in view. Trunking sizing. Okay, let's bring you back up a little bit. Now pan out. Okay. Okay. The area of trunking is the only thing taken into account, and not the amount of cable bends. In trunking, the bends have little effect on the number of cables allowed. Plastic trunking requires care, as the internal area is smaller than for metal. Find the factors from table E5 which apply to the cables and place them within a table. We don't need to use a separate protective conductor, as the steel of the trunking is more than adequate in size. Now here, if we don't need to use a separate protective conductor, as the steel of the trunking is more than adequate in size. It is more than adequate in size, but the trunking itself will be bonded down to ground anyway. But for your respective circuits, you need to run your separate protective earth. Okay, so if you're running in cables, any circuit you're running, do not use your trunking as your only means of earthing. Each circuit must have its own earth run with the circuit. Okay. So obtain the appropriate factors table E5, multiply the factor by the number of cables, add up your totals, pick an appropriate cable factor from the trunking table E6. To double up cables in trunking to lose length is to increase the overall number of cables you have to take into account. So remember, if you double up, you will increase the number of cables. And let's just get to this as an example, okay? We did an example earlier in regards to conduit, so this should not be a problem for you to understand. Let me just make sure you can see the question, okay? me just make it come up a little bit, make sure we can get everything in. Okay. And let's go back down a little bit again. Okay, pan out a bit and make sure we get everything in view. Okay, and every circuit has at least 2 live conductors. Okay. Conductor cross-sectional area 60 millimeters. Number of conductors 8, factor 47.8. Total. So here you're multiplying that by that and that by that. Okay. That's what you're multiplying it by. And let me just check that is correct for myself. So that is 8 times 40, sorry, that's 8 times 47.8 equals 382.4. Okay, so I know that is correct, and I'm going to assume the other part is also correct. But check these for yourselves. Make sure you know how to multiply. Know how to multiply, please. Okay. And you can see your total factor here is 973.6. Now look at table E6. We are looking for a cable factor greater than 973.6. Trunking of dimension 100 millimeter by 25 millimeter has a factor of 9993. Sorry, let me make sure I give you enough nines. 993, which is just big enough. 50 millimeter by 50 has a factor of 1037, which is again big enough. Okay, I would go with the 1037. Okay, I'll tell you that now. It allows for future additional circuits without having to redo the calculations again or take into account heat loss. Okay, it now comes down to preference whether you want square or rectangular trunking. Okay. And that will be it for now. Okay, thank you. I hope you've found this useful. Again, write out your information, look at your on-site guide. Okay, all right, have a good day. Bye bye for now.